So tonight I went and saw Jeff Nichols' new film, Loving. So I really enjoy Jeff Nichols as a filmmaker, and I say that mostly because I really enjoy Take Shelter, which was the first film by him I saw. Michael Shannon's amazing. I still firmly believe Michael Shannon should have won an Oscar for that performance, and yet he wasn't even nominated. And then I saw his debut film, Shotgun Stories, after that. However, I am many films behind because he had Mud a few years ago and earlier this year Midnight Special, and I did not see either of those films. Which brings us to Loving, which is his second film this year, and tells the true story of Loving versus Virginia, which was the court case that went to the Supreme Court in 1967 and destroyed anti-miscegenation laws in America, making it free for everyone, every straight person, to marry. Now, the point, I think, of the film is to sort of show you that, like, this was less than 50 years ago, and it took 50 years to then remember that ruling said marriage wasn't right, and therefore we have gay marriage. So that's sort of the through line. Although I was expecting at the end, when they point out sort of the last historical things, I was hoping they would cite that this case was used for that, but I'm actually not sure if it was. I was trying to look it up, and I couldn't find anything. So if anybody knows if they used this ruling for that, that would be great. So the film starts when Mildred and Richard are not married. They've discovered they're having a baby. They decide to get married. Richard knows they can't get married in Virginia, or it hints that he knows. So they get married in D.C., only to a few weeks later, a few days later, you're not really sure, to be put in jail because it's illegal in the state of Virginia. So the marriage license is null and void. Much like many gay marriages were null and void in various states until last year. So then it goes through the 9 years process to have their marriage be legal in Virginia, have them not have to hide places, and basically have interracial marriage be interracial opposite-sex marriage legal everywhere. That's the film. I thought the performances were great. I think Ruth Negga is amazing. She gives a very low-key but hopeful performance throughout. Joel Edgerton reminds me of a lot of the dudes I knew growing up. He's very in on himself. He's very deep feeling, but all inside, and only occasionally shows these feelings, like with tears and other sort of emotions. The children are beautiful, beautiful little kids. And then Nick Kroll out of nowhere, like it's kind of weird seeing him not play a comedy role. And then Michael Shannon for a scene, and Michael Shannon is always great, and I think he's in all of Jeff Nichols' films. So the film is made in a very low-key way. It's very much about the little moments in film. The little moments in life. And I was reading through some reviews because I'm not sure how I felt about how sort of anticlimactic the bulk of the film is, and how just very, like, run-of-the-mill a lot of what happens in the film is. And I was reading some reviews that sort of felt the same way. But then I was thinking, I read one person that was saying that their everyday life is really not that interesting. And I was thinking that maybe that was the point, that everyday life isn't that interesting, and that they're just like everyone else, where everyday life is just whatever, and we're all really not that interesting. I'm not sure. So I think it's a well-made film. I'm just still, and it's in, the parallels that it's drawing, I think, are quite good, but I'm still sort of unsure if I really liked it. I definitely didn't hate it, but I'm not sure if I really loved it. There were a few moments that really, really got me, like when you realize that the ACLU is going to help them and pay for their court costs, and you're like, yay, ACLU. And when you pretty much realize that this is why the Supreme Court is important and why who's on the Supreme Court is important for landmark cases like this. So there's sort of these parallels to where we're at right now in America that make the film feel more important than maybe it would be if it was released, say, last year. So I don't know if that's like just a timing thing or what, but it was also produced by Colin Firth, and I'm not sure how that happened. I found that really interesting. I saw that name at the end of the credits, and I was like, So this was Jeff Nichols' Loving. If you have thoughts on the pacing and or the why he told the story the way he did, please let me know. I'd be interested to hear other people's thoughts while I still sort of try to decide how I feel about it. I'm hoping to see 2 movies tomorrow plus my noir, so it might be a heavy day. We'll see. It's that time of the year where you gotta go see all the movies before the end of the year. So anyways, 2016's Loving, written and directed by Jeff Nichols. I think you should go see it and see what you think for yourself.